Welcome to the second session. In this session, we are going to be looking at conditional statements. We'll look at if, else loops, statements. We'll look at loops, we'll look at functions, and so on. So I'll just go to File. I'll take New Notebook in Drive so that I can create a new notebook. And I'll just come here. Session 2, hit enter, et voila. So basically what I want to do is I want to start with, so I'll just put the hashtag so that I can put a comment. So I want to look at basic if statement, and then I move on. But before that, I'll just come here, click on text, and I will type a text here. I'll just say conditional statements, else, if, else. You can see when you have one hashtag, that is how it looks. If you put a second hashtag, it's going to reduce the size. The third one will even reduce it more. So I'll just leave it at 2 hashtags. I'm going to select it and I'll click on bold so that it's bold, and I'll just hit Control Enter. We'll just enter. I'll just come and click here. So what I want to do, I want to send it at the top. I'll click there and then send it at the top. So it's at the top of that. Then I can start working on my things. Let me see. I don't think it did what I wanted. I want to have that statement, and I'll come and click here. That's it. So let's start with our basic if statement. So I'll just put if, so it's a condition. If the temperature, let's say it's greater than 20, you always have a column at the end of your if statement. Then I'll say print. What should it print? It's a warm day. Well, depending on where you are in the world, some places, if it's 20 degrees, that's very cold. So actually, let's just adjust it and say, if it's 28 degrees, it's a warm day. Now, if we decide to run it, we will see what happens. So I'll just put Shift Enter. And it's connecting. It generally, when it's the first one, it may take a few seconds. Let's see what is going on. Name temperature is not defined. So we are trying to use a variable that has not been defined. So generally, when you have such an error, you come and take a look. We see that we did not define temperature. So we will define temperature. Temperature is the name of a variable, and we will put the value 25. Okay, so we've just initialized it. Temperature is 25 degrees. So let's say, let's just keep this. So if temperature is greater than, so if 25 is greater than 20, then it's a warm day. So we are comparing what we have here with this condition. Okay, so we can run it and we see it's a warm day. You can run another one. You can say if temperature is less than, let's say 20 degrees, print it's a cold day. Now you'll see the problem that arises. It's that now if it's not a cold day, what happens? Okay, if this does not hold, actually let me put it in its own cell by its own, copy and paste it here, run it. You see nothing is generated because this condition doesn't hold true. So there's nothing that helps it. So in this case, we are going to put an if and else. Okay, so that if it doesn't hold, what happens? So let me just put hashtag and I say an if else statement to be able to solve that particular problem. So in this case, we will say if temperature is, if it's greater than 20, print it's a warm day. Else, so in case that is not the case, what should it print? So after your column, you always have to go down to the line. Now it's very important. The distance you have between the starting to here is very important. Let's see, 1, 2. Okay, this is skipping. So generally for some, it's mostly 6. So it's very important you respect that distance, else you'll have an error. Okay. So when you have your column, hit enter, generally automatically it will place you at the right distance and you have to respect it. So I'll say print it's a cold day. So in case this doesn't hold, it's going to do the other one. So let's run it. Given that it's 25, it's going to be it's a warm day. However, if we come here and we say if it's less than 20, or let's just change temperature. Let me reinitialize it. Let me say it's 19. Okay, so if we run it, we say it's a cold day because we now have an else. Without the else, it would have stayed the way this was. So let's take a look at another case because it's possible that it really doesn't fit any of these things. Okay, let's take a look at, let's throw in another variation. Hashtag, we have if, we will have if statement, we'll have else if. So other languages will use else if, however, Python decides to use elif and then an else statement. Okay, there we go. I'll just say temp so that I don't need to be typing temperature every time. Let's say it's 10 degrees. Okay, I'll say if temp is greater than 25. Now, the truth is that if this condition holds, the other ones, it's not going to examine them. So it's important to write your thing in such a way that it runs properly. Print, it's a hot day. Now, when do we use elif? It's when you have more than one. If it's just one else, you use else. But if you have more than one conditions appearing there, then you should use elif. So elif, and then you throw in your condition. Temp greater than 15. So if you have a machine that has different settings, you want to check the different things. Now it can be below 25 but above 15. Okay, here it's above 25. What if it's below 25 but above 15? That's what you want to do here. In this case, it's a pleasant day. And what if we have another case? So elif temp greater than, I'll say 5. Remember, we had made temp 10. So what should we have? Print it's a chilly day. And in this case, given that it's the last case, we are going to use else, and then we don't need to put any condition. If all those things, if it doesn't, let's say it's less than 5, whatever below, we just stop there. So we'll say print or if you want to put it a phrase in there, it's really up to you. So in this case, when we run it, we know it's 10. We expect, we know it's, so if it's above 25, we'll have it's a hot day. If it's between 25 and 15, it's a pleasant day. If it's between 15 and 5, it's a chilly day. So we expect it's a chilly day. So shift enter, it's a chilly day. What if we have -1 and we run it, it's a cold day? So that's just how it goes. So let's play around with something else. So in this case, we want to use logical operators. So I'll say using logical operators. So when we talk of logical operators, what are we looking at? We are looking at things like and. We are looking at things like not. We are looking at things like or. Okay, let's just stop with that now. We want to combine it in a conditional statement. So let's, for example, use this variable h. Let's say the h is 22, and we want to have this. We have has ticket. So do you have a ticket to enter and watch the movie? Depending on your age, you can go and watch certain movies or go alone to watch a movie. At a certain age, you can't go and watch movies alone in certain countries. Some don't care. So let's start with if age is greater than or equal to 18. So in most countries, it's like that. That's not all. And has ticket. So in this case, we will not say has ticket is true because the default is that when you put has ticket, it assumes you are saying has ticket is true. So it's checking these two conditions. So if your age is 18 and has ticket equals true, of course, the default is true. If that condition holds, then what should it print? So you go to the cinema hall and you enter your things, and it will say allow entry to the event or to the movie. So it's up to you, whatever you want to say there. And then let's check for another condition. If age is less than 18 and has ticket. So what do? Print. So if you are not of the right age, you cannot enter to watch the movie. Not allowed entry to the movie. Too bad for you, young man. And finally, we can have another, if. So here we will not put any age, we'll say not has ticket. We don't care the age. We don't need to know the age. So if he doesn't have a ticket, we say print not allowed entry to the movie. And if we want, we can stop there. So if we run it, we'll see what happens. So here we are saying the person has the age 22 and they have a ticket. So the first condition holds. Now if we change this to false, it means they don't have a ticket. So in this case, this condition is not met. It will check this one. This condition is not met because he has the right age. So it doesn't apply because it's looking at age less than 18. But this is met because he has no ticket. So if we run it, we see not allowed entry. It's actually this last one. On the other hand, if we had maybe is 17, then it's this one that's going to run because it's less than 18. It's just going to kill it. It doesn't care about the and in this case because all those conditions should hold true. Because even if he has a ticket, even if we say true and we run it, it's going to shut him out. So understanding these conditions will really help you as we move on. Here we want to play a bit with the print statement. We had seen that in session 1. Let's, in this case, we just want to check if a number is positive, negative, or 0 using an if, but we will play a bit with the print statement. So here we'll just initialize the number. So I'll say num. I'll just stop at num so that I don't have to be typing a lot. I'll call it -5. So in this case, we know very well it's negative. So I'll say if num is greater than 0. So at times you want, before you run an analysis, you want to know if there's a mistake in the number. For example, if an h is entered as minus something, you want to be able to run something to check those things easily. So in this case, print. So here we are going to use the f. We've not been using it, but at times it's extremely great. It's beneficial for us to know what the problem is. So in this case, we want to say num. So whatever it's been examining as the number, the num here will say is positive. So if it's greater than 0, we can clearly declare that particular number is positive. However, if we move on, we can say elif num is, in this case, we want to say less than 0. Then we have print. We'll do exactly the same thing. F. And we have the num is negative. And now we are just going to use else because those are the only two cases: greater than 0, less than 0, or 0. Else. So we don't even need to, we'll just say else. Print. Is 0. So let's run it and see how it rolls. So if we shoot it, we can see -5 is negative. So if you change this to maybe 0 and you run it, 0 is 0. And let's say we have 5 and you run it, shift enter, 5 is positive. So that's a bit what's going on here. So now we are going to look at loops. Loops are extremely important. So I'm going to launch a text and then I'll start with hashtag. Last time we used 2 hashtags and then we use bool. And now I'm going to type my text. So basically we want to look at loops, and the 2 loops we will be looking at, we will look at the for and while loop. This what happened to what I was doing. Okay, let me see. Let me just shut down these things. Something text hashtag. So, okay, select this. At times you start typing and you're not looking what you're typing and strange things happen. So I'll say for and y. So that's it. So shift enter. I don't need this, so shut that. And here we go. Okay, now we know we are dealing with code here. I'll just put a comment based on what. So I want to iterate over a list. In last session, we saw what a list was using square brackets, and then we also saw what a dictionary was, which is the value pair cases. So let's put back one of the lists we had earlier seen. So I'll call this fruits, and we'll open a square bracket, and let's go with apple. Last time we had banana. Okay. Then we had something like cherry. And then we had something, let me see, I'll put mango. Okay, there we go with our fruits. Now we want to use a for loop to iterate, because if you just do print, so think about it, you do print here and you put fruits, this is what you get. You don't want that. You want to be able to print each of them. You want to go through it and pick them one by one. So if you use a for loop, generally you just need to say for and you choose any word, but by default we will use something like this, which is meaningful. Fruit in fruits. Okay, when we run it, I'm going to explain. So here we'll just say print. If we want, we'll put something interesting. Let's make it interesting. Because, okay, I won't make it interesting. I'll just focus on letting you see what it does. Then I will make it more interesting. So I'll just say fruit. Because it comes here, it extracts the first thing using fruit, then I print it. So let's run it. You can see it has extracted it. Now, let's make it interesting now. That's what I initially wanted to do. So F, and then we do something like that. Now we can say current fruit. Then we can put a curly bracket and we do fruit. Then you have something like that. Now, what is happening? If you want, you can change this to something like I. Some people do that. And here you just need to say I. Whatever you choose to put there, you put wherever it is. But by default, because if you come 1 year later, you want to be able to understand what you wrote as code, you put something that is meaningful. But that's how we generally go through a list. Well, generally, that's how you go through things for your for loop. It says for as long as you have fruit inside of this list, print them out. So that's just the idea behind it. Now let's just throw another fun thing here. So we can just say print. So in this case, we also want to be able to, I don't like this thing. So I'll put F and I'll say the length. So when we say length, we are looking at, well, you'll see what the length of, so I'll throw in foot. Is or rabbit inside this. Now, if you remember from the last time, we saw that you could actually do computations within that. So this, I forgot to close it here. So open and close it is, so the length of food is, we throw that in and let's run it and see what we have. So here, for example, we have current food apple. The length of apple is 5. Okay, now count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You are looking at the characters of apple. Current food banana. The length of banana is 6. So if you look at the number of characters, it's 6. Why did I put this thing here? So that when it prints, we can see that we are talking about that, and so on. So you can just play around with things like that. Okay, let's look at another section before we stop the video, else it becomes too long. So in this case, we have just seen how to iterate over this list. Now we want to iterate over a string of characters. And that is pretty straightforward. So iterating over a string. Okay, so let's say message. That's the variable, that's the string variable, and the message is hello friend. Now we want to iterate to see all the things which are inside that. We will use the for loop for char in message. Remember, you can use anything here. I just use char as character, but you can use X, Y, Z, it's up to you. Now we'll just say print, and I'll still use the F so that within the F, I can write something meaningful. Character. And here we can, so that's it. So hello, you see hello friend. Those are, it has looped through every character that is inside of this, and we can see what comes out. So the last one for this particular video, we want to iterate over a range. Now we've not yet seen range, but you'll see it's an interesting concept and it's pretty straightforward. So in this case, I'll just say for I, you can use Z or anything in range. I'll say range 5. Now what is range 5? It means generate numbers 0. It always starts at 0 all the way excluding 5. So you'll have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what it is. If you put 10, it's going to be 0 to 9. So here we can just say print. I'll use F again, and I'll say number, and I'll use I, and we expect that it generates something like that. So let's not say numbers, let's just say number, and there we go. So we'll continue in the next video.